3000 BC with Gilgamesh, and we are now going almost to the year 0. By the time we finish Virgil, who is under the reign of Augustus. Augustus was the ruler of Palestine when Jesus was born. So it is at the end of this Roman Empire section that historians come and divide before BC and AD. So it is still in the Roman Empire, but the Roman Empire will get a kind of a distinction based on historical later. So of course, the people who lived in the Roman Empire didn't know they were in BC or AD. They were just living in the Roman Empire. But to show you that how historically we've moved down, the time machine has gone backwards until we hit the year 0. So, who was this Epicurus, whom we are not studying? We're studying Lucretius. If you notice, Epicurus was during the Hellenistic period. It was during the Alexander period we talked about. He started a school called the Garden. Not the academy, not the Lyceum of Aristotle, but a garden. So imagine that all your classes are outside, on campus, but not in the classroom. You are in the garden, in nature, enjoying your, on the green field, on the lower campus, And he was very much influenced by two Greek philosophies. One is the atomists, or Democritus, who claim that everything is formed by atoms. And the other is a hedonistic principle. The hedonism, you know what is hedonism? It's a principle of pleasure. In fact, some people think that Siduri, in the Gilgamesh epic, when she said that enjoy your life, hold your child, love your wife, be happy, for this too is the lot of man, is a hedonistic principle. It's a principle that aims at happiness and pleasure and a good life and enjoy the moment and forget about tomorrow, make love, not war, and that kind of approach. So what is the ethical philosophy of Epicurus? Pleasure is the highest good. Pleasure is the highest good. And this influence spread all the way until we come to our guy who is Lucretius. So Lucretius is a Roman Epicurean, because there are others who were Greek as a philosophy. And I think there are many people who are Epicureans today, right? I mean, many people live this, like today is and of course when you are in a state of war, we noticed that in the time of plague, in the time of the civil war in Corcyra, people live as if tomorrow is the last day. And so they go very much into whatever gives them the bucket list, rather than going into future investments and long-term planning, Who knows, we're going to survive tomorrow, so let's do the maximum of today. So in his book, which is, as you mentioned, the Rerum Natura, or on the nature of universe or things, he's trying to explain his world. It's like a Stephen Hawking talking about his time, but in a poetry form. So a black hole, or a kind of Big Bang, and all of that in his own understanding, in a poetry form. So one day, Lucretius was sitting in a dark room with a bit of light coming through the windows. And he saw specks of dust flying. Have you ever had that experience? Where you see in a dark room a little bit of ray coming in, and a bit of specks of dust flying. And he saw that these dusts were, and then he blew on them, and he found that some of these dusts all merged on one side or went on the other side. So he came with this idea that the world is made up of space, void, and atoms. And these atoms just fly around, and then for some reason or another, some of them stick together, and they form me. And the others stick together, and they form you. And the others stick together, and they form the table. And so therefore, the world is made up of these atoms forming shapes, which are, for him, in a way, haphazardly done. And this is why, when they disintegrate, chances are that they will not form again the same structure as they did the first time. This is why, for him, continuity of life was a little bit questionable. So therefore, these atoms swerve, and this is how the world is formed. There is no mastermind behind them planning or organizing or making these. Now for him, the gods existed, but they are ideal models. They are perfect atoms, if you want to. But they don't interfere in us. So, if you were going to rewrite the Odyssey by Lucretius, you would remove Poseidon from it. And can you imagine how the story would unfold if there would have been no Zeus, no Jupiter, no Athena, no Poseidon? How would the story unfold? So the gods exist, but they have nothing to do with us. They don't interfere in us. They don't design our lives. They don't guide us. They don't. So if one of the greatest fears of humanity is the gods, relax. There's nothing you can do about them. There's nothing, they can do nothing to you. The other fear that you have, if it's death, then again relax, and then we will talk about that in the second part. So man is made of atoms. There is spirit and mind. There is soul and mind. It's as if there is mind and body, but they're both perishable. There is nothing called eternal for him. There's no soul that is eternal. What is free will, as you mentioned? It's one of the atoms who goes another way, and therefore we do spontaneous things. It's like when children do a slip of a tongue, or you do something. How did I think about that? Well, it is one of your atoms that went back or forth, or burped back, or whatever. What is death? Death is the disruption of atoms. So if I am made up of this, like some chemical, formulas or chemical arrangements of molecules, if I am made of this arrangement, when this arrangement is changed, then I am no more there. And therefore happiness, or voluptas, not eudaimonia, the feeling inside, but this kind of pleasure, is doing your own thing. Carpe diem is pick the day like a flower. Live the day. Truth is acquired by the senses, a little bit like Aristotle, not too much Plato. But reason is also misleading sometimes. It may lead us to wrong conclusions. Now, what is Lucretius' view? What do we want from life? We want from life two things. A body free from pain and a mind free from worry and fear. If I can have a physical, healthy body and a mind at rest and healthy and put my head on the pillow at night and sleep without any worries, what more do I want from life? To achieve this, two things. Develop friendship, mix with people who think like you, avoid people who don't think like you, avoid people who make you angry, avoid people who make you nervous, feed on people who are like you, withdraw from society because society is a source of unhappiness. And therefore, you go and live in your little garden, and you develop, and this is why some of these schools were quite noisy. We'll talk about that later. Politics, the wise man will not interfere in politics unless he is forced to, but unlike Plato's philosopher king or the Periclean approach of citizenship, withdraw from society, and to be free is to be free from pains and to be free from. So what is the impact of Epicureanism? Question is, can you have a society that is Epicurean? What if everybody is Epicurean? What will happen to us? And the second thing we need to think about is, how did this affect later philosophies? We will see a lot of philosophies which will be influenced by this. For example, utilitarianism, which will come later, Freud, of course, Bentham, and others, and of course the modern hippies, make love, not war, is one of the things. Okay, we will stop here, and we will continue with this reading of